Hello, hello. Let's make sure we are in the right place. Heaven forbid we go live in the wrong place. Let's see. Yes, yes, yes. Happy Wednesday. I am a few minutes late. So I realize some of you may have been here at 2 o'clock and peeled off. I had just a few minutes today and wanted to talk about some interesting research that I have been diving into. I write for the National Guild of Hypnotists quarterly journal, and I don't know, I'm always talking to people about using their imagination. And when I talk to people about using their imagination, I talk about tapping into all of the emotions and the feelings of an experience. And there's a very specific reason that I do that, which I'll share with you in a moment. But I wanted to see what the research says about imagination and hypnosis. And this was pretty profound. Now, doing thousands of hours of hypnosis with clients, I always knew that this is an issue that would come up that I'm about to share with you. Let me mute just a moment. This was an issue that I always knew could come up because when I first trained in hypnosis, I took a basic hypnosis certification. And basically, I was trained how to hypnotize a client, how to read them scripts for what they came in for, a hypnosis script, and then to emerge them. And I was also taught that when I would do my intake interview with my client, to ask questions about what are your hobbies? What are the things that you enjoy? What colors do you like? Do you prefer the beach or the mountain? All of these questions. What kind of work do you do? The reason we were taught to ask all of those questions was so that as we were reading the scripts, we could adjust the imagery, we could change metaphors so that those things would work for the client. Because if you were to suggest something in a hypnosis script that didn't resonate with a client, their subconscious mind would just kick out the suggestions you were giving them. The subconscious mind would go, yeah, that's bullshit. And now I know I'm swearing, but seriously, the mind will go, that's crazy. That doesn't make sense, which is one of the reasons why some people have a difficult time finding hypnosis audios to listen to. I know that I have bought and invested in hypnosis audios that I did not like, that when they came in, just the voice didn't resonate. Like I couldn't listen because of the voice. They could have been, doing the one hypnosis that would make me a billionaire, but the voice was like nails on a chalkboard. But it became apparent that it was extremely stressful to come up with imagery, and it was extremely stressful to come up with metaphors. Because even if you came up with the right imagery and the right metaphors, if contextually something was off about it in terms of that client's beliefs or the way they perceive it, they would reject it. Because at the end of the hypnosis session, what I was taught to do was when someone comes out of hypnosis to ask them, oh, what did you like about that? What did you enjoy most? And to make notes about what they enjoyed most and to make notes about what they didn't like so I didn't do it again. So it became this whole scenario of a whole lot of preparation and being uncertain if what you were going to do was going to work. I did have clients who would say, I I would suggest something like, maybe they liked gardening and flowers, so maybe in the imagery, I suggested a sunflower or a rose, and it's like, you emerge and like, "Oh, I hate roses. My mother loved roses. She was an awful hag," or whatever, and it's like, "Oh, great, I suggested something that they hated," right? So then basically, when their mind goes into this state, it's like, "I don't like this. I'm resisting this." So the mind resists the suggestions. So what does that mean? That means that in those situations that the suggested imagery was counterproductive to the results. It actually got in the way of the results. Now, do I do guided hypnosis with imagery? I do. And I do my best to make it so broad in general that a person's mind can fill in the blanks. I give people options to choose from. I wonder if you can imagine if you're on a path, maybe it's at the beach in the mountains or in a field somewhere. I do my best to be general. I'm not 100%, but to allow people to fill in the blanks. But there's actual research that shows that suggesting imagery can impede the effectiveness of hypnosis. And that's why you end up throwing up triggering a block that the mind throws up for whatever reason. The other thing about that with suggesting imagery in hypnosis, we love to help you see your future self. We love to help you see your future self. If you get too specific in suggesting that future self, doing direct suggestion hypnosis, you could trigger a fear response in the client. And what do I mean by that? I shouldn't say fear response, a protective mechanism. You can trigger the protective mechanism. It's the anticipation of fear. So imagine that that you've wanted to lose weight. You've wanted to lose weight and you never really been thin before. There's a part of you that is afraid of what people will think. Or maybe there's a part of you that doesn't like the attention that you got when you were thinner in the past. And you begin doing the imagery for seeing yourself thin in this blue dress in the mirror, in the dressing room, at the department store, wherever. The protective mechanism can actually put on the brakes and, like, this does not feel safe. We're not going here. We're not going to go down this road. And so basically, what's happening in that situation is there's an identity leap that is too big for the mind to feel comfortable with. I deal with this with entrepreneurs often where they're wanting to up level and they're hitting blocks and they don't know why. And it's because the place they're wanting to go, there's a part of their mind that anticipates that it's going to be painful or that there's something to be afraid of when there's nothing to be afraid of. So the protective mechanism in the brain puts on the brakes. But I've done a video in here before where I talk about the reticular activating system and I talk about what you say to yourself and allowing yourself when you use affirmations as a way to program that in to tap into the emotion and to just close your eyes for a few seconds and see yourself in that future state or see yourself doing the thing that gets you to that future state. This article will be coming out in the March Journal of Hypnotism, and I get into all the details of it. But the gist of it is using imagery alone, even in hypnosis, using imagery alone without a suggestion for the desired outcome does not activate the areas of the brain that are activated when a suggestion is given. So imagery alone, visuals alone do not facilitate the change. So if I were to take you into hypnosis and tell you to just see yourself at 120 pounds, thin, fit, healthy, and that was the only suggestion I gave you, those areas of the brain are not going to light up. And if that's something that doesn't feel comfortable to you, your protective mechanism is going to kick in. It can have that adverse effect. But if I were to give you suggestions that you eat only when you're hungry, you eat just enough to be satisfied, you eat your fats and proteins first, um, you find that you're full before you eat your bread and you're not interested in your bread. If I were to give you those suggestions and say you might be surprised to find that one day you're standing in front of that mirror, I'm connecting the two together, but that image is not going to do anything to create the shift and the change. The one thing that will bypass your critical factor is emotion. So if you're going to use your imagination, imagination is reverie, it's daydreaming. Um, Let me back up. Imagination can be voluntarily bringing up an image. Reverie or daydreaming is actually being in it, feeling it, experiencing it, and going through the motions in your mind. If you're going to use your imagination, tap into the emotion and talk yourself in your mind, talk yourself through what you're doing. Talk yourself through what you're doing. Don't just see the image. So whether you're using affirmations or you're using scripting, combine emotion and that internal dialogue so that when you're daydreaming and you're in your imagination, that you're in that moment and you're like, yes, every day I get up and the first thing I do is gratitude and I meditate and my energy is so overflowing that I am excited to sit down and write my email to my list, or I'm excited to reach out to someone to interview on my podcast, or I am excited to connect and open up opportunities to meet someone new, maybe romantically if that's what you're after. So everything hinges on suggestion. Imagery alone is not going to cut it. Imagination alone won't do it. And there were several very specific studies that outlined it. I lost my train of thought. So there were several specific studies that outlined that there has to be suggestion. And remember that I know some of you here in the group are hypnotists. If you're using imagery, if there is any resistance to that imagery, if there is any misalignment of that imagery with the client and what they like and what they find appreciative and enjoy, or what their perception of whatever imagery you're using means, it can actually interfere with the outcome of your sessions. So I just wanted to pop in here and share that, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I can't visualize. I've done meditation and I just can't see the things. A lot of people can't voluntarily pull up that imagery. They may involuntarily get flashes of images in their mind, but to follow along someone suggesting imagery, they can't, and they automatically think that they can't be hypnotized. And I'm here to share with you that it's not required for effective hypnosis. It has zero impact. Imagery has zero impact. without suggestion. All right. You guys have a great week.